Hi guys, today I'm going to be trying out the fairly new release. It's a Dior Quint. It's number 409 Wild Raffia. I have done a video on the other newly released Quint. That was the one in Silk Earth. So I'll put a link up here if you want to take a look at that. I haven't put on any of my other makeup yet. I thought I would do this video and try some things that I haven't used for a while. There's a Nars foundation that I absolutely love. I wore it yesterday. I pulled it out of my drawer and I thought, gosh, it's just such a beautiful foundation. So I thought I would use that today. So I'm going to start off with primer. And I've got the Hourglass Vanish Airbrush primer. This was released earlier this year and I did a dedicated video on this. And this has nearly run out. I love this primer and I used this yesterday with the Nars foundation and I thought both together they just paired really beautifully. So the only thing with Hourglass primers, the original Veil one and this one, there's still quite, well, a little bit of product left in here, probably quite a few more uses. And sometimes the pump works and sometimes it doesn't. But what you can do is just pull it out with the product and just dot some on your face and use it that way. But I am going to be buying a backup of this because I think this is a fantastic primer. So those of you that haven't seen my videos before, I am 53 years old, so I have mature skin and I also have oily skin as well. Now in New Zealand here it is winter and there are signs of spring coming, which I'm really pleased about. But one thing that is great about the cooler weather is that even though I have oily skin, it's not as oily as it is in the summertime. So there are lots of foundations that I use in the winter that are not necessarily suited with oily skin right in the middle of summer when there's a bit of humidity. So I do like it in the cooler months that I can get to use some other foundations that are probably more geared towards normal to dry skin. So for foundation, I'm going to use the Nars. This is the light reflecting foundation. This is really beautiful and I've got this in the shade Santa Fe. Everything that I'm putting on my face today I will have linked in the description box below. So I'm going to do a couple of pumps, not a huge amount of product comes out with each pump. And I'm going to take the BK Beauty, this is the 101 foundation brush, which I absolutely love, and just put it on using that. This goes on really lovely with a sponge as well. And when I use a brush, I don't tend to move the foundation down my face so much. I tend to stipple the foundation in. I think it's really good at just pressing the product into your skin. So this is such a beautiful foundation and I do put it under my eyes and on my eyelids as well. But what I do is I wait until I've put it all over my face first and then the product that is left either on the sponge or on the brush, then I just take it over my eyelids because I don't want too much product on there because I'll be adding some concealer as well. And less is more, especially with mature skin. And for concealer, I'm going to use a Cle de Peau one. I got this about 6 months ago. Now for me, the best way to apply this is just take it onto my finger and let the warmth of your finger just warm the product a little bit, and then I just rub it between my two fingers and then I just start in the corner of my eyes and then just slowly tap it underneath. And then I just let that sit there just for a minute while I do my brows and then put my eyeshadow primer on. I used eyeshadow primer, this is the MAC Paint Pot one, because with my oily skin and I have oily lids, eyeshadows just won't last. So I only put a little amount on and I either use my finger like I am now, or I take a brush, either like a BK Beauty one, especially one of the Angie Hot and Flashy ones, or one of the Sonia G, the Fusion brushes. Either one of those are really good as well. And then for my eyebrows, I nearly always use this one and I have a backup of it. It's nearly finished. This is the Chanel, it's the Stilo waterproof one. And this is in the shade Brun Clair. I just love how this looks on my brows, and I also really love the shade as well. I'm not super fussy when it comes to my eyebrows. Really what I do is just tidy them up a little bit, and where there are some gaps, I just fill it in. And I just think this pencil does a really good job. And then for powder under my eyes, I have been using, it's the Westman Atelier. This is the Vital Pressed Skincare Powder, and this is in the shade Creme. Now, the other one that I use under my eyes is the Prairie. This is, I would say, just as good as the Prairie one. And I think what makes them so good is that they're finely milled, and they have a lot of humectants, moisturizing ingredients in them as well. Because especially when you've got mature under eyes, you want your concealer and foundation that's under there to set, but you don't want a powder that's too dry. And even though I have oily skin, I don't want to dry underneath my eyes too much. I just want to set the foundation or concealer, whatever is under there, because the drier that you get under your eyes, the more it'll emphasize the wrinkles underneath. So I apply this exactly the same way that I apply the Prairie, and I just place it on my finger, and I start by pressing in the very inner corner and then take it underneath. So it's only a tiny amount, but it does set the concealer, and it just gives a really beautiful finish. It doesn't look cakey. It's just super finely milled and really lovely. I also have this in translucent, which I haven't tried yet, but this is a really lovely under eye powder. And then to set my foundation, I'm going to use the Prairie. It's the Skin Caviar loose powder, and I'm just going to use a small amount just to set this foundation down a little bit. This is the BK Beauty. This is the 102 brush, and this is super soft, and it's great at just laying down just a little bit of powder. I love this brush. And sometimes if I haven't got powder on it already, what I use this for sometimes when I've put powder underneath my eyes is just do a gentle sweep under each eye just to make sure all the excess powder's gone. But I don't really have any issues with that Westman Atelier powder. There doesn't seem to be any excess once I put it on. So this powder, I don't think I've talked about it much in my other videos, but it is absolutely gorgeous. I think it's a really, really beautiful powder. And for my bronzer, I'm going to use a Guerlain one. I love this. I think it's a really, really beautiful bronzer. This is in shade 04 Deep Cool, and it's the Sunkissed Healthy Glow Powder. This is the Sonia G. This is the Niji Pro, which I've bought a backup of, and hopefully that'll arrive in another week or two. I just use this all the time for my bronzer, and just be nice to have a backup. So now let's take a look at this Dior Quint. It has the standard 7 grams of product. It is made in France and has a shelf life of 6 months from date of opening. But as I said in a lot of my other videos using these Dior Quints, they last a lot longer than that. So here is the colour story. This is 409 Wild Raffia. And this is a really beautiful neutral quint. I think it's absolutely gorgeous. And in here you've got sort of like a golden champagne, and then a pink champagne, and you've got a taupe colour down here, and then you've got, which is the only matte shade, which is a brown down here. And in the middle, sort of like got a mauvey tone, and that's a satin shade. So I will swatch these on my arm so you can take a look. So I'm swatching these from top to bottom and left to right, and I'll do the middle shade last. So this is the first shade, and it's like a golden champagne. And the next shade is sort of like a pink champagne colour. Then we have a taupe, and that is a satin. It's really beautiful. And this is the only matte shade, and this is a brown. And then finally is the middle shade, and this sort of has a pinky sort of mauvey tone in it, and this is a satin. So I'm going to take the BK Beauty. These are the Angie Hot and Flashy ones, and this is number A503. And I'm going to start off with the middle shade. This is a satin, and I'm going to take that over my lid, and I'll take it quite a way up as well. It's quite a light shade, but it is really, really pretty. Then I'm going to take the A502 and I'm going to go into the taupe shade, and I'm going to deepen up my crease. This is a really lovely shade. If you love taupe, then I think you'll really like this quint. I love all these shades together. I think they look really, really beautiful. Then I'm going to take the Raffia number 3 and I'm going to stick with that taupe shade, and I'm going to run that under my lower lash line. Then I'm going to take the A501 and I'm going to go into the only matte shade, and this is this deep brown, and I'm going to put this on the outer corner and take it slightly over towards the middle of my lid as well. Then I'm going to take the A504 and I'm still with that darkest shade, and I just want to deepen up the crease just on the very outside. And using that same Raffia number 3 brush, I haven't wiped it down. I'm now going to go into the deep shade with this and just add a bit more definition to my lower lash line just on the outside. Then I'm going to take the A502 and I'm going to go into this golden champagne colour. I really like this. It's not too yellow. I think it looks really lovely, and I'm going to take that over the rest of my lid. And now I have wiped down the Raffia number 3, so I'm going to go into the lightest shade here. This has a slight bit of pink in it. It is a really beautiful shade. I'm going to put this in my inner corner and just along my lower lash line a little bit. And then finally I'm just going to use my finger going back into this lightest shade, and I'm going to place some just in the middle here and just slightly over the darker colour as well. So I've now put some eyeliner on. I used a Wayne Goss one, and it is in the shade Tiger's Eye, and mascara as well, and it's the Chanel Le Volume. So this is the finished look, and I think this is really, really pretty. I love this. This is a beautiful, beautiful neutral quint. I think it looks absolutely gorgeous. So for blush, I'm going to use the number 1 de Chanel. This is in the shade Healthy Pink. I only picked this up about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and it is absolutely gorgeous. I put it on using, you can use your fingers, or something like, this is the Sonia G, this is the classic base. This is one of the fusion brushes that she put out, and this is great for this type of product. It's just such a beautiful colour, this blush. I absolutely love it. And it doesn't matte right down this blush, but what I do at the very end is I just put on a little bit of powder, just a tiny bit, just to set it. And for lipstick, I'm going to use a Bobbi Brown one. This is a crushed lip colour, and this is in the shade Blush. I only got this the other day, and I think this is a really beautiful shade. And then on top, I'm going to use Bobbi Brown. This is the oil infused lip gloss, and this is in the shade Bellini. This is a really lovely shade. It only gives a hint of colour, and it has a really beautiful subtle sparkle in it. So to complete the look, I'm going to use this Hermes powder. It's a mattifying one. It doesn't go down to a flat matte though. And this is a Sonia G. This is the Face One brush. And I'm just going to tap a very tiny amount just over that blush. And that'll help it just keep all day with my oily skin. It doesn't budge then. So this is the finished look, and I think it is really, really pretty. This is definitely my type of shades, this Quint. Really, really gorgeous. One thing about this shade here, it's sort of like this pink champagne, and it is beautiful. And it tends to be a little bit more opaque than some of the other Dior Quints that I have. Some of them, it just adds like a topper, whereas this seems to have quite a bit more pigment. And just with that one swatch, if I have it on my hand there, you can see that it does give quite a bit of payoff. So I really like that. I know there is some people that it is one of the shades in the Quints where it does act more like a topper and they want more payoff. Well, this definitely gives you more payoff, and I think it's really, really beautiful. You can see that it's definitely highlighted my inner eye, and it also looks beautiful just over the top of the other shadows that I put on here. I love this shade here too. This is this golden shade, but it's not too yellow. It's just really, really pretty. I think it's absolutely gorgeous. And this taupe shade here is beautiful, and the deep brown for just deepening things up and giving a little bit more dimension to the eye look. But overall, I think it is a really, really gorgeous Quint. And I love the blush. I know this has been out for quite a while now, but I never picked them up when they were first released this year. I picked up other Chanel products when that was released, and I finally decided to get one, and I just love the shade. I think the shade Healthy Pink is just absolutely gorgeous. So overall, I'm really, really pleased about the two recent Quints that I bought. This one, Wild Raffia, and the other one, Silk Earth. They are both just really beautiful Quints. And it's great to bring out the Nars foundation again. I think it looks absolutely beautiful. It just gives a softness to the skin, and it's just gorgeous. And overall, I think the look is really, really lovely. So that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already. And I will see you next time. Bye.